Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Burnt Pancakes podcast. I'm your host, Katie Fensky, and I'm reminding moms that everyone burns their first pancake. Today, we're diving into a topic that a lot of parents struggle with, but rarely talk about, and that is intimacy and sex after kids. Because let's be honest, between the sleepless nights, snack crumbs in your bed, and the constant mom, 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 and touching, the romance can feel like something that belonged in your past life. So, my guest today, Dr. Rebecca Eudy, is here to change that. She's a licensed mental health counselor, a certified sex therapist, and the author of her new book, Parents in Love: A Guide to Great Sex After Kids. With over a decade of experience, she helps parents navigate desire differences, emotional disconnection, and the very real challenges that come with trying to keep love alive in the middle of busy family chaos. This conversation is going to be a little bit candid and encouraging, and it is packed with practical advice for any parents who want to feel close to their partner again, even if it has been a little while. Well, welcome to the podcast, Rebecca.
Thanks for having me.
This is going to be a very intimate conversation, but I think this is one that a lot of us moms feel like we need to talk about, but it's kind of embarrassing to talk about this. So I'm happy that you're willing to be open about all of this with us. So before we start getting into sex, can you introduce yourself? Let us know where you're from, how many kids you have, and what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name's Rebecca Eudy. I am originally from the deep woods of New Hampshire, but now I'm in the Boston area.
Oh, nice.
And I'm a sex therapist. And so, talking about this stuff, it's like I do it all day, every day. And so sometimes I forget that it is like a little bit
Awkward.
embarrassing. Yeah, no, it's awkward for other people, but it doesn't make me feel awkward?
Okay. That
Um,
makes me feel better. Yeah.
Yeah. But I will say the reason why I got into being a sex therapist is because I started working with couples and it was like, I loved it. It's so dynamic. It's like, oh, just the best working with couples. Um, but I I didn't have a lot of training in
Oh.
talking to clients about sex because in grad school and in undergrad, it's like you have one class and it's like maybe like a developmental sexuality like elective.
Interesting.
So it's just like left out of the training entirely for
Interesting.
most. Yes, yes, it's like, oh, okay. Doesn't that say something about how like uncomfortable it is for people to talk about?
Absolutely.
Yes. And so, I was comfortable talking about sex with my friends, but when it came to talking about it with clients, I was like, didn't quite know how to do it. And so, of course, when I don't quite know how to do something, I go and get training and learn about it and get interested in it. And so that's what led me into it, is not actually, oh, I just love talking about sex all the time. I was like, oh, maybe I need some more training here.
Oh, wow.
Um,
Because I can see a lot of people coming to you. That is a hard thing to bring up and talk about with another
it
person.
is.
Yeah.
It is. And actually part of what's really important as a therapist is to be able to bring it up first, to ask about it.
Mm,
Because if you don't ask about it,
we're not bringing it up.
no, not for
Everything's fine. We're
ages.
good.
Totally.
Oh,
So yeah, so now I have a private practice. I work only with couples. S- Some, I don't only do sex therapy. I do, general couples work. But I do specialize in therapy. I have a PhD in clinical sexology, which is like the clinical sex therapy degree.
okay.
And I've just written a book, which I think we'll talk about.
Yes, yes. Okay.
Yeah.
And you're also a mom yourself. So you
I
have
am a
two
mom.
boys.
I
And how
do.
old are they?
So I have a 9-year-old and an 11-year-old. They're in fourth and fifth grade.
Yeah. And before we were getting on, we were talking about the joys of raising these boys.
I know they're like wild animals and also the sweetest ever. So
It's so much. Yeah. Love them to death and they drive me
yeah.
absolutely crazy. Um, okay. So did you become a sex therapist before you were a mom, or did like you going through this with your own kids and your own relationship, did that kind of bring you to this point?
So Before I had kids, I actually worked with kids. So
Oh,
I worked in a lot of different levels of care. So I started out my career working in inpatient and in partial with pretty severe mental illness. And I got pretty burnt out doing that because it's
I can
very
imagine.
intense work.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Very
And so then
emotional.
after, absolutely. But I learned
Mhm.
so much. I mean, it's like once you do that, you can do anything. It's like, woo, all right. So then I started working with kids. I was a middle school guidance counselor for four or
Oh,
5 years. Yes, so that was very interesting. You
very.
couldn't pay me enough to go back to middle school, but
I would
so,
never. I taught for a long time, for 17 years, and I'm like, that's one age I could not do.
yeah.
Mm,
But I really enjoyed working with them as a guidance counselor. I mean, it was very it's so painful, so
yes.
embarrassing, all of
Such
the
an
things, but
awkward time for kids. Oh.
so awkward, so awkward. So I found that to be very meaningful. I really enjoyed it. But then when I had my first son, um, I really didn't find that I enjoyed working with kids quite as much after I had my own. It
Mm-hmm.
felt like I was kind of being split a little
Mm-hmm.
bit.
Yep.
And so then I actually stayed home with my kids for a little bit. They're only 19 months apart. So it happened, sort of boom, boom. And so I was home full time for 2 years. And then I went back and I worked with college age kids for a
Oh,
number of years.
interesting. Oh.
Um, and so then coming into private practice, I started working with couples pretty quickly after coming into private practice.
Mm-hmm.
That was about 5 years ago, 6 years
Okay.
ago. And ever since then, I sort of haven't looked back. It feels like, working with the couple, working with the relationship, you're also working with the family, which
Mm,
feels really meaningful. And then I also just find it to be really, really interesting.
yeah.
So the work of this book and the work of being a sex therapist, I think really grew out of my clinical practice and also my own experience of knowing how difficult it is to stay connected to your partner once you have kids. Kids just fundamentally change everything.
Yep.
So it's a real challenge. And it's one that just keeps coming back over and over again. It's like you don't just tackle it once and then done.
Yeah.
So that's sort of what led me into this particular book.
Awesome. So you believe that maintaining a healthy, intimate relationship is one of the best gifts that parents can give their children. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah. Um, so I want to be really clear. I think that, parents who are single parents or parents who are divorced parents, they are doing for their children, they're still providing a happy, healthy
Hmm.
home. But if you are a parent who's partnered, giving a mirroring sort of like the word's escaping me. Like the
Model, maybe?
thank you.
Okay.
That's a very simple, that's a good one. The model of this relationship, it's really important. I like to think about, like, if we think about the relationship in the household, not only the relationship between the parents, but also the relationship of everybody in the household, that's
Hmm.
the emotional home that children grow up in. And
Yeah.
so if the connection between partners is strong and well tended, then that's also helpful to have that emotional home be strong, that foundation be strong. And it contributes to having a well-regulated nervous system. I mean, I don't know about you, but if my husband and I are like not getting along, if we're like bickering or something, the kids are just like,
Everyone senses it. Yeah.
everyone senses it and they start acting out and they're having a tough time. And so I really think that, like, the proof is kind of in the pudding there, that it's like, yes, when you're getting along, when everything's moving smoothly, when you're tending your bond, then it makes the rest of the household run more smoothly.
Hmm.
And I think part of the bond, because for people who have a monogamous relationship, the sex is something that you're only doing with your partner. And so then that's an important part of the relationship, if you both agree that it is.
Hmm. Okay. What happens then if you are parents, you're busy? like new parents who have a new baby, barely sleeping, and sex is like put on the back burner. How do you
Yeah.
help parents who are like, I'm just too tired, or like I've been nursing my baby all day long. I don't want anyone else touching my boobs today. Like, how do you help those new parents?
Yeah, totally. Okay, so there's this period of time that I call the do no harm period, which is really, it definitely at least a year, but
Hmm.
probably more like two, or slash until everybody's sleeping and you're not breastfeeding
You
anymore.
have 2 years, and then you have another child, and it's like the cycle just
Correct.
keeps going. Yeah.
That's right. So
Hmm.
this do no harm period is
No
after
harm.
each child.
Okay.
And
Okay.
so it can go on for a while, depending on how many kids you have and how close they are together. You may find yourself in this period of time for a long time. But during this period of time, nobody's thriving. We're like sometimes feeling like barely surviving
Hmm.
because if you're not sleeping, that already puts you into a highly sensitive, like nervous system state where you're going to be more dysregulated. Your emotions, physical health, wellness, all of this sort of suffers. And so, yeah, the relationship and certainly the sexual relationship may really feel like it's put on the back burner for a pretty long period of time, which can be difficult to tolerate. But it doesn't, this is a really different period of time because often there's hormones on board and because the
Hmm.
family is adjusting to this new child. There's all kinds of attachment stuff that's happening with the kid, with the baby. They're so high, the parenting during that period of time is so high intensity that we really need to take that period of time and set it aside. It's not like any other period of time with parenting.
Right. Right. Give it some grace.
Give it some grace. That's the do no harm. Is it's
Yeah.
like, okay, so I'm surviving, you're surviving. Don't I want some grace? Don't I want someone to look at me
Yes.
and say, "Oh, maybe that wasn't your best moment, but you know what? You're
Right.
doing the best you can in this imperfect moment." And so really giving each other a lot of grace, knowing that you're going to miss each other during this time, both like in terms of missing each other, misattuning to each other, but
Hmm.
also it's normal to miss what you had together
Oh, totally.
during
Totally.
this time as well.
I feel like that was the biggest change when I went from 0 to 1 kid was just that feeling of like we aren't the same anymore. We don't get to do what we used to do. We're like our life was totally tossed over and I'm like, we can't just like go out to dinner anymore. We've got a little baby with us. That was a hard adjustment. And I felt like I was not very good at telling my husband like this is how I'm feeling. Like I'm feeling
Yeah.
very like different in our new phase of life. It was hard. So how do you get parents to like communicate that? Like we could go a while not having sex because neither of us are saying, "Hey, you know what? Like this might be important, but I'm not saying anything and you're not saying anything." Like how do you get parents to communicate their needs?
Yeah. So I like to ask, people focusing on the micro moments first. So as opposed to thinking like, okay, uh, we really should have sex tonight. It's been a really long time. How are we going to find the time? Maybe one or both people is like sort of not into it. It feels hard to get there. Focus on like the micro moments, like that real hug,
Mm,
in the middle of chaos where you like actually lean into the hug, take some deep breaths.
mm,
Like a kiss that goes on for a
I love
little bit
that.
longer than just a peck,
I love
or like
that.
even just meeting eyes across this like absolute chaos and
Hmm.
like smiling or saying, I love our life. I love our kids, but man, I miss you.
Oh, I the micro moments. I love that. I wrote that
Micro
down because I
moments.
remember that. And two, to like show your kids that. Because like part of me sometimes thinks like I want my boys, since we don't have sisters, I want
Mhm.
them to see like how a wife can treat a husband. Like he comes home from work and I love to say like, oh gosh, boys, say hi to daddy. He's been working so hard. Like, aren't we so glad he's home now? Just to kind of show him we care about you. But I love that little micro moments. It doesn't always have to be like, I'm fulfilling you sexually all the time. It's like, I can
Yeah.
give you a nice hug while we're making dinner. And that's,
Mhm.
you know, one little
Yeah.
check in the box. Mm-hmm.
And you know that micro that moment that you just talked about, like when someone walks in the front door, that can be a really important time because a lot of times, when, the person who's out in the world comes in, oftentimes there's like a ton of chaos at home,
Mm-hmm. Oh, wait,
you
usually
know?
very chaotic. And
Yeah,
they're ready
like
to just decompress. And you're like, there's no decompressing in this
no
house.
decompressing in this house. No, I need you to actually hit the ground running and
Yeah.
like get in here and help. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's an important message for them. Like, hey, listen, I know you've had a busy day. I've had a busy day too. My day's not over and neither is yours. I need your help. I need you to jump in here and like get your hands dirty with me. So that's
Mm-hmm.
part of showing up and feeling appreciated and supported. But the other piece of that is actually reminding yourself to take that moment and put down whatever it is. If you're on the phone, unless you're like making a pediatrician appointment or if it's like something that it's like you're on
Yes.
the phone with insurance and you've been on hold for 45 minutes, but like hang up if you're talking on the phone. Tell your kid, just wait a second, I'm going to go say hi. You know, turn off the stove if you're cooking something, turn off the water if you're washing dishes, and actually go over and greet your partner like you mean it.
Mm-hmm.
Because those moments, what those micro moments do is that they tell us and tell our nervous systems, I see you, I appreciate you. Because
Mm.
so often what happens is we get into this like battle of like, I'm working hard. Well, I'm working hard. No,
Yes.
I'm working harder. I'm not appreciated. Well, I'm not appreciated. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's like this game of like, who's got more to
Kind of
prove?
one up you on how much harder things are for me. Mm-hmm.
Totally. And it's understandable why that happens. Um, but it's important to that feeling of like, oh, there you are. You want
Right.
me. You like me. We're here
Yes.
together.
Yes. Okay. So I have a little beef with the default parent um,
Mm-hmm.
thing that's going around because I 100% do believe that moms have a ton on their plates. And I am like, I do so much. Like, I have thought about it sometimes. I'm like, if anything happened to me, my husband wouldn't even know how to register for the kids for school or what to do. There's so much.
Yeah.
So, yes, am I the default parent in one sense? But what I don't like is where we start making an excuse or like one upping. I work harder than you because I make the dentist appointments and I make this instead of just going, that's something I'm choosing to do. I am taking on that role as the mom. And if I do need help, I can absolutely ask my husband because I know he would help me if I asked.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but that just little bit of appreciation for your husband going, I'm taking all this on and he's taking on a lot too, but not
Mm-hmm.
making it a competition, like so I don't know. I understand the default parent thing, but I also
Mm-hmm.
feel like if we can just come together as a team and just say, "Hey, we're both doing a lot. And if you need help, I'll help you, and if I need help, I'll ask for help." But I don't know.
Yeah. No, I
Thought that
think
was
that
always
that's
a
right.
hot topic that I'm like, "What? Do I even bring this up?"
Yeah. Well, so the mental load is huge. And I think that the mental load, especially for that default parent, which a lot of times is mom,
Mm-hmm.
um, is does really prevent a lot of those primary parents from being able to access what their own desire and their own sexuality. And so,
Mm-hmm.
mom hat is not sexy. You're unshowered and you're covered in spit up, or you're like, I mean, it's not sexy. It's
It's
just
not.
not.
It's not.
It's not. And so just even feeling like a caretaker is not sexy. We don't, if caretaking is sexy, we've like gotten some wires crossed. Like it's just not. It's not supposed to be.
No,
And
half the time I felt like a milkmaid, like, oh my God, I'm covered in this. Like, ugh.
totally.
Yes.
Totally. Absolutely. And even now, it's like when my kids are even a little bit older, it's like half the time I feel like the emotional dumpster. Like everybody's just like coming in and telling me I'm
Mhm.
not doing it good enough. And, oh,
Yes.
you made that for dinner, gross. Or it's
Yes.
just, like it's hard
Constantly. Hmm.
constantly. And then I think that there's the other thing where, I've heard like the non-primary parent at times say, especially like around the summer when things get really crazy and there's all of these camps, say like, oh, I feel like an Uber driver. And I'm like, I would pay good money to feel like an
Yes.
Uber driver. Like
Yes.
someone else plugs in that address and I just get to drive somewhere. Doesn't that
Yep.
sound like
Yes.
so that mental load, that running list that a lot of
Mhm.
moms hold in their head is really a barrier to being able to get into a situation where they're even open to being sexual. And so a lot of times sex gets put on this like checklist of everything else
Uh-huh.
that needs to get done.
Yeah.
And it's not coming from a place of actually wanting it for yourself. It's
Okay.
more fulfilling a partner's need. And that really does kill desire, over time. Like
Mhm.
understandably, it's not that sexy.
Right. It's just a
Um,
box you're checking. Yeah.
Exactly. But the reason why I talk about the micro moments outside the bedroom is because feeling appreciated makes working hard it makes it feel like you're on the same team, like you're
Hmm.
in it together. And part of what feeling appreciated is like picking up the slack. Like, wow, you've had a really hard day. I'm gonna jump in here and help this with, you with this, or, a really long day at work. Like, come on in and just like, it's okay, or, you're sick, go to bed early. I've got this. Like giving each other a break, giving each other a
Hmm.
little bit of grace, that all grows from feeling wanted and appreciated.
Right.
And even if the desire piece feels still challenging, feeling wanted and appreciated and feeling like you're on the same team is connecting. And that helps to get to the place where you can also be sort of allies in figuring out how do you get to the place where sex doesn't feel like a chore.
Right. Right. I love that you talk about um your allies in this, like you're
Hmm.
working together. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because sometimes it feels like it is a checklist, this is
Hmm.
something I gotta do, but knowing that like
Right.
we're working on this together. Um, what advice do you have for couples who are like busy? Like as our kids got older, our evenings are getting much busier. Like
Hmm.
we don't get home from football till 9:30 at night. So the kids like really aren't. I mean, the 11-year-old, by 11 o'clock, I'm still like, "Wait, stop making noise, go to sleep." Like
Hmm.
it's now 11 o'clock and that's pretty late for us. So what do you do when your kids are older and it's like we don't have the hours in the day anymore?
Yeah. Well, I hear this from parents a lot, and they're like, "How do we make the time? We're so busy." And so I ask people, it's not really about making time, it's about protecting the time that you have
Mhm.
and looking at what the priorities are. And, the way that we parent and the way that we expect that we should parent, the way that we see the people around us and our friends and our kids' friends be parented is this way that, kids are playing multiple sports a season and they're, not just on the town team, they're on the town team and the
Mhm.
travel team and they're driving all over the place. And we want to do all the things for our kids all the time. There was a study that showed that stay-at-home moms in the 70s spent less time with their kids than full-time working parents do
What?
now with their kids.
What?
So you have a full-time working parent, a working mom. She's
Mm-hmm.
spending more time
Time.
with her kids than a stay-at-home mom in the 70s did.
Wow. But in a way, it kind of makes sense because we feel like now as modern parents, like I have to be giving those experiences and doing this and playing with them. And they can't just like be out playing by themselves. Like we have to be
Yeah,
entertaining them,
absolutely. We feel like we have to be entertaining them. We don't let them
always
out, which
involved. And
there's a whole like ton of research about how what that does to our kids to parent them
mhm,
that way, in terms of anxiety and stuff like that. So that's sort of emerging, that research.
mhm.
So it's arguable how good this is for kids, but not only that, but there is also we're in a position as parents where there's some reality to that. Like for instance, I think about, I have boys as well, and if they weren't playing sports now, when I was growing up, you just pick up a sport in high school and it's no big deal.
Right.
But now there's this really like specialized early, there's this
Yeah.
skill-based thing. So there is something about the pressure that we feel as parents to conform
Mm-hmm.
and to be with the social norms. So parents are under a lot of pressure. So looking at what your priorities are. And so, if the reality of your life is that nobody's getting to bed until 11 o'clock, the last thing that you're going to want to do after, telling your child 50 million times that they need to go to bed and driving all over the place is have sex. And not to mention the fact that what if they're not actually asleep and they're
I
popping in
know.
and out of
As
your
they get older,
room?
that is a problem too. I'm like, we actually have
Yes.
to lock the door now. Ah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So there's creative solutions. The nighttime is not always the right time for parents,
Right.
especially with
I like that.
people like, yeah, like, especially with people working from home. Like, nap time is a great time. Parents tend to have a little bit more bandwidth, maybe
Mm-hmm.
a lunch time when the kids are at school. So getting creative about actually when you can carve out the time. But even more than that, deciding together that it's important and protecting it. And that might mean that the kids have a little bit more screen time, or you decide together that the kids are only going to do one sport per season, or that
Mm-hmm.
you're going to make less commitments at work or do less on the weekends so that you can actually preserve the time together that your relationship needs.
Yeah. Actually, I think the youngest one started kindergarten.
Hmm.
That was nice. That was
That's nice.
that's nice.
Yes.
Because I got home from
Yes.
drop off and I'm like, oh, you're still home. You haven't left for work yet. Wow, this is the time of day that we didn't used to have.
Yeah.
Which makes it more fun now because it's like, ooh, something new and exciting.
Yeah, it's a little naughty, it's like, oh, the middle of the day.
Yes.
But the thing that also happens, I think it's really important to acknowledge is, this may not be the case for everybody, but for most people that I know, and certainly most moms, by the end of the day, their nervous system is
Right.
shot,
Hmm.
totally fried. We
Right.
are deep into shutdown mode. And so you really probably at best want to like watch a little Netflix or like scroll on your phone and then
Hmm.
like pass out. And so the idea of having to like connect and like move your body and like take off clothes, especially as we get into the
I'm
colder
already in
months,
my
it's
comfy
like
clothes.
yeah, like, come on, like, not a chance. And so that's a really good cue. Like, if you're noticing that after bedtime, like, your nervous system tends to just be like nosedive,
Hmm.
that's going to be a time that it's really hard to transition into being sexual with your partner. You may need even more runway at that time. So if it's not realistic to try to carve out time during the day when the nervous system may be in a little bit of a better state already,
Yeah.
then something like, okay, you shuttle the kids to sports. I'm gonna, be at home. I'm gonna take a shower. I'm gonna like
Recharge.
sort of
Yeah.
recharge. Or you put the kids to bed tonight if we want to have sex, and I'm gonna use that 30 minutes. Or, you go downstairs and clean up the kitchen while I'm, sort of getting myself into the right headspace, which
Hmm.
means like sort of taking off that mom hat and figuring out, some people that I've worked with have found like, putting on like sexy lingerie. I mean, I don't know if I have any of that left anymore, but like getting
No,
some,
we used to have a
putting
ton
that
of that.
on. Yeah, I know, like shaving your legs, washing your hair, doing those things that might feel a little bit more like human, a little more sexy, a little bit less just like someone's
Like wife
mom.
versus mom. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. What about, so this is something that like I went through. My body changed a lot after having kids. And I know people say, oh, your body's beautiful. It did so much magic. But I'm still like, ah, I really want my 20-year-old body back. That felt
Mhm.
sexy. This, having three kids and a C-section and nursing them, doesn't feel as sexy anymore. So how do women um, get back their body positivity after having kids?
It's a great question. And I think it's hard. I think some of it is actually grieving the body,
Hmm.
the 20-year-old body. This
Yep.
happens also, I think, in perimenopause.
That
A
was
lot of
like the
times,
next thing
the
on my
next
list.
thing. Yes,
We're in
yes.
our 40s now, and yep, things don't look the
Yeah,
same.
they don't. They don't. And I think that there's some grief there. I think that
Hmm.
and it's okay that there's grief there. Um, but I find that anything that you can do in your body that makes you feel strong, that you can appreciate what your body can do,
Hmm.
and then ways that you can access feeling sexy. And to be honest, that literally may be like I feel more sexy when we have sex with the lights off. Like that's fine, you
Right.
know? Like
Right.
it's okay. Whatever it is that makes somebody feel sort of more in touch with their own self and their own
Hmm.
sexuality, um,
Hmm.
there's no wrong answer there. But I think that that's the reality. It's like the grief. We might not go
Right.
back to the 20-year-old life, but
Hmm.
if you could bring the 20-year-old body into the 40-year-old life, people might choose
Yeah.
to do that.
Yeah. I like that you
Yeah.
brought out that you just grieve it because that's kind of how I feel. Like, oh man,
Yeah.
I miss that. And I don't know how to tell my husband, like I'm still attracted to you, but I worry that like, oh, I don't
Mm,
look the same. Like, you don't want to
yeah.
talk to him about it. Like, I look awful. So, yeah.
Well, I think it's a hard thing to talk about because
Hmm.
it can sound like insecure. And
Yeah.
sometimes it feels
Feels
insecure.
insecure. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels insecure. And so it's hard to talk about. And I think that a lot of times the reassurance certainly can help from your partner.
Hmm.
But I work with many people whose partners are like, your body's so beautiful. I just want to stare at your body all day. Like, this is so amazing. And they're like,
You
seriously?
do?
Like, you do?
Because I
Like,
don't.
yeah, like I'm not down for, and also that doesn't sound sexy. Like I'm not down for that, you know? And so it has to come from within. And I think that a
Hmm.
lot of times, women get a lot of messages about how they should look and what's sexy and what's not sexy. And so really going with what feels right in your body, what feels strong, what feels sexy, and not having that be right or wrong or good or bad.
Hmm. Yeah. Or just turn the lights down a little bit.
And
It's
be
okay. And
practical.
yeah.
Like we're nothing if not practical. Just
Practical.
turn the lights down. Nobody needs to be having lights on. Like if that's not your thing, it's
Right.
fine.
You don't need to squeeze into sexy lingerie if it does not feel good.
Definitely not. And if it feels good and if it
Go
does it
for
for
it.
you, go for it.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. Okay. Let's switch a little bit. Since you have boys and they're kind of at that age, how
Hmm.
have you talked to your boys about sex, or have you
Hmm.
how would you address that?
I have. Um, they don't want to talk about it,
Yeah.
shockingly.
Hmm.
They don't want to
It's
talk to their mom
shockingly,
about it.
my oldest actually was asking for us to tell him. So it was
Okay.
like, okay.
Yeah.
And it was very awkward for all involved, but he was curious enough that we were like, okay, we're going to talk about it. And he was like, oh, this is so weird. This is so gross. I was like, okay, but I'm glad you
You
asked
asked for it.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You asked for it. So I think that where parents can go wrong is that they think that they have to have a conversation.
Okay.
And usually parents wait too long. They're like, we're going to have the birds and the bees talk,
Hmm.
and we're going to do it
Hmm.
when they get to this age. And usually by the time you have the talk,
They've already heard.
they've
Yeah.
already
It was
heard.
very obvious that my son is like, okay, yes, you're just confirming what I
Yeah.
was being told. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you have a kid who's curious, who wants to talk about it, I mean, the best thing that you can do is to try to talk about it as matter-of-factly as possible and
Hmm.
just answer the question. So if you have a kid who says, where do babies come from? You can say, oh, well, babies, when you grew in mommy's belly, or babies are, this is how
Hmm.
babies are made. Like literally just answer the question.
And they're just like, okay.
Exactly. And so what we do as parents is we panic and we think we have to give them the whole thing. Oh my God, they're going to ask, how did the baby get into the mommy's belly and whatever. And it's like, no, they're not. Their mind hasn't gone there
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah.
And so we tense up and we act like it's a big deal. And then they're like, oh shit, that was weird. I'm not asking that again.
Right.
So
Right.
if you can just matter-of-factly answer the question and then move on.
Okay.
And then then they'll be more likely to ask again because
Okay.
it's not just one conversation. You want to foster an environment where they can
They
come to
can
you
talk to you.
and they have resources that they could come and talk to you and they could just ask you a question and that's cool.
Mhm.
And then you can talk about it or not.
Mhm.
Um, the other thing that I've done with my kids, which I found to be very helpful, our pediatrician recommended it. There's a series of books. It's called It's Not the Stork. I can send you the
Oh,
link so you can put it in.
okay.
And they have it age appropriately. I think the first one is like for like
Okay.
about 5 years old, and it's like about bodies and differences between bodies. And then as they get older, they have like more information, like
Oh,
about
interesting. Okay.
puberty and that kind of stuff. And so we have a ton of books. I mean, as you would imagine, as a sex therapist, I've got like a lot of books. So
Yeah.
there's a deep library that my sons will have access to at some point. But I
Hmm.
have cultivated a library, like a body book, a puberty book, some different
Mhm.
like age appropriate books that they can go to. And actually, a lot of times, like not so much anymore, but when they were like a little bit younger, like about a year ago, there was a lot of like whenever they had friends over, they'd be like in their room giggling and looking up at the books. I'm like texting my friends, I'm sorry, I think your kids might have just found out what sex is at my house. Well,
See?
whoopsies, sorry. Um, but just to have those resources as well, if they don't want to actually
Yeah.
ask, that
Yeah.
they know that you have given that to them and that it's
Hmm.
in the house.
Right. Because I know my boys are probably curious about what girls look like because they don't have a
Mhm.
sister. So knowing that there's maybe like age appropriate drawings or,
Yes.
so they're not looking that up on the internet because we don't want them
Yes.
searching that on their own. Um, just how you said that they'll keep asking questions. It happened the other night where my oldest son, he just walked into the living room as he was supposed to be going to bed. He was like, "Hey, what's a virgin?" And my husband and I was like deer in the headlights at first. And I was like, okay, Katie, even though this is like so hard for me to talk about, like I grew up just like not ever wanting to ask my mom.
Hmm.
She was always like, I'm here for you if you have any questions, but I just was so afraid to ask her anything. So here I am trying to like play it cool. And I was just like, I think my husband was looking at me like, what do we say? What do we say? And I'm like, oh, it's just someone who hasn't had sex yet. And he's like, okay. And I'm like, so it's like all of your friends, everyone you know. That's it. I'm like, okay. And then go off to bed. But it was like one of those like, okay, Katie, like play it cool, just answer his
Yep.
question, let it go. Like, the wheels in my head were like, how do I answer this? But
Totally.
I
Sounds like you nailed it.
I had to it still is very hard for me, but I'm like, just get really comfortable with it because I know there's more questions coming that are going to be even more awkward. But yeah, I'd rather him ask me than his buddies on the football team.
Totally.
Yeah. Okay, let's get to your book because as of the time this podcast comes out, it came out this week. So your book is coming out October 21st.
Mhm.
Parents in Love. Tell us just like a little blurb about what's in it and where we can find it.
Yeah. So you can find it anywhere books are sold, Amazon or your local bookshop or whatever. So it is a book about, so it is written for parents. And I thought it was important to write this book. There's some books about sex like immediately postpartum. It's like the
Okay.
first year, how to get
Okay.
your sex back.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's like some couples therapy books that have like a little piece about parents. It's like a chapter or whatever.
Okay.
Um, but this parents face these very unique challenges because it's very common in long-term relationships that there's a difference in desire. So one person has a higher desire than the other,
Mm.
and this can cause a lot of tension. It's the most common reason why couples come into sex therapy. And in parenthood, the chances that you're going to have this difference in
Even
desire
higher.
even higher. And
And can it
especially,
be like at one point one and then it like flips where the other?
yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, it can be.
Okay.
And that's not uncommon that that would happen. There's a lot of different things that influence desire. Relational factors, hormonal factors, like lifestyle, all kinds of different stuff that
Mm-hmm.
influences desire. So it definitely can be, there can be for sure a switch there. But so the book is basically about how to manage a difference in desire in a long-term relationship, and especially for parents, normalizing that there are contributing factors that make this even more challenging.
Mm, yeah, I love it. I love it. So, getting your book, do you see more women reading it or men?
I think realistically, it's going to be more women because women
Mhm.
are readers
Yeah.
and women carry a lot of the mental load of the relationship.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
more likely, just
Hmm.
statistically, it's more likely. But the book is actually written for a couple.
Okay.
So there's sections for the high desire partner, there's sections for the low desire partner, there's sections for the couple on how they can work together because ultimately, it's a higher desire partner and a lower desire partner. And so a lot of times the thing that brings couples into couples therapy is that the low desire partner may come in and say, I think I'm broken.
Yeah.
Like, I never want to have sex again. What is wrong with me? It's causing all kinds of issues in my relationship.
Mm.
Fix me. Or the high desire partner may get so grumpy and upset about the fact that they're not having sex and they're not getting
Hmm.
their needs met in their relationship and all of this stuff that they then are the conflict is so big that it brings the couples in. So it's the conflict that is the
Hmm.
marker of the desired difference. It's not actually that one person's desire is right or wrong
Hmm.
or should be used as a benchmark. It's the difference in desire that really is where the issue is.
Mm. And the book tackles both. Like, what could both do?
Correct.
I love that.
Exactly.
I love that.
Exactly. Because a lot of times what happens is the high desire partner, they've been initiating and they're exhausted and
Hmm.
they're feeling rejected and they're
Hmm.
feeling unwanted and, all of the undesired and all of these like terrible
Yeah.
feelings. And they've probably tried everything.
Yeah.
And the low desire partner is likely feeling like they can't do anything right, like they're broken. They may have a lot of resentment about feeling like they're
Mhm.
not getting their needs met outside the bedroom, and yet their partner really wants them to show up and just have sex, and that's
Yeah.
sort of all they're wanted for. There's all kinds of these dynamics that build resentment. And so but when one person is holding all of the initiation and they're always initiating, it's like if you think about even outside the bedroom, if one person is constantly saying, can we do this? Can we do this? You need to do this. You need to do that. They're holding all of the initiation energy around the things that need to
Mhm.
happen. And that's exhausting. All they
Yeah.
want is their partner to actually take the initiative and anticipate or join them or even just ask them, how can I help? And so
Hmm.
the same thing can happen in the bedroom is that it's really exhausting to be the person who's initiating all the time. And so what we need is more balance.
Right. And I think too, just the understanding of like, this is how I feel, this is how I feel, and we can find some common ground around it. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. Because nobody's right and nobody's wrong.
Hmm.
And, you can really get into this stalemate of like, well, if you do this for me, I'll do this for you. And you're
Right.
not doing this for me. So why should I do this for you? And
Hmm.
it goes back to that thing that we talked about earlier about the appreciation is that, I have very, very, very rarely worked with a couple where intentional harm was caused. It's almost always the misattunement,
Hmm.
that feeling misunderstood, feeling misrepresented, not understanding each other.
Right.
The feelings are real.
Right.
The feelings of being hurt or being misunderstood or um, not desired or not valued, those are real, but the intention is not to
Hmm.
make the person feel
Yeah.
that way.
I love that. I love that. And I just think this is so important to like open up and talk about because there's so many times where it just feels like I'll just push it away. I'll just push it away. We'll just keep going. We'll keep, and then you realize like, man, it's been a really long time and we're not doing
Hmm.
anything about this. So I love that number one, you wrote the book and you're open to talking about it with all of us. So I
Yeah.
appreciate that. If we wanted to find you, do you have any social media or website that we can look you up?
Yes, absolutely. So my website's my name, RebeccaEudy.com. And social media, same thing. It's Rebecca Howard Eudy. on
Awesome.
Instagram. Yeah.
Love it. Love it. Well, I'm going to link all of your socials, your book, and all of us moms who are like, we need to bring the spice back. We don't know how. We're going to follow you. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks so much for having me.
I hope this very candid conversation with Dr. Rebecca Eudy reminded you that intimacy doesn't have to disappear after kids. It just looks a little different, and that is totally fine. With the right mindset, a small intentional step, connection, and passion, it could absolutely come back stronger than ever. If you've loved this episode, go give Dr. Eudy a follow and keep an eye out for her new book, Parents in Love. I'll make sure to link that below. And as always, I want to remind you that everyone burns their first pancake, so just keep flipping.